In this video, we want to talk about the simplest element in the universe. Number 1. Hydrogen. Nowadays, you hear a lot about hydrogen, and it mostly has to do with new hydrogen vehicles and trucks. Automobile manufacturers that produce hydrogen vehicles say that these vehicles produce no emissions. Just like we said, hydrogen is number 1 on the periodic table, and not only is it the most simple atom in the world, it's also the most abundant element in the universe. And it's good to know that more than 70% of a star is made up of hydrogen. Right here on Earth, if you're looking for pure hydrogen, you're gonna have a hard time finding it, but it's mixed with a whole lot of other elements. And the most important one is water. When hydrogen is mixed with oxygen, it creates water, which is called H2O. 2 hydrogen atoms and an oxygen atom make up a water molecule. If you want to separate hydrogen from water, you will have to separate the hydrogen atoms from oxygen. And the simplest method to do that is electrolysis. First of all, you have to have a cup of water and put a tablespoon of baking soda in there, and you mix it up. You take 2 wires, insert it in the water, and connect it to a 9-volt battery. Inside water, there's 2 times more hydrogen than oxygen, and when you insert this wire that's connected to a battery, hydrogen gas is released from the water. The hydrogen we're producing could be a strong gas, and it could cause an explosion. In simple terms, this is how a hydrogen vehicle works, but it's much more complicated than this. And if you want to see how hydrogen vehicles actually work, there's plenty of those videos online. If you fill up a balloon with hydrogen gas and you put a little fire next to it, it will cause an explosion. And for this much hydrogen, it's actually an impressive explosion. When you make the balloon explode, the hydrogen meets the oxygen and it wants to create water, but it can't do that. And that is why the explosion happens. You can't underestimate the power of hydrogen. The biggest bomb that has been made is a hydrogen bomb, and testing this bomb created the biggest explosion in history. Why did the nuclear power plant explode? It was mainly because of the irresponsible employees, but what caused the actual explosion was hydrogen. If you fill a balloon with hydrogen gas and blow it up with a needle, will it cause an explosion? It will explode like any other balloon, but it will not create an explosion. To make hydrogen explode, you need a little bit of energy. Energy like a lighter or even electricity. What triggers an explosion with hydrogen is the amount of power that's given to it. And depending on the size of the power you give it, it will multiply that and explode. When you explode a hydrogen balloon, you see a little flame, but the orange light is not the hydrogen. It's the balloon burning up, because you really can't see hydrogen. You might ask, in the Tsar Bomba, did they just put a bunch of hydrogen tanks, and with this single spark you can make this explosion? A hydrogen bomb is not that simple. Even though the main power source is hydrogen, but it's extremely complicated to cause this explosion. Hydrogen is not a safe fuel, and even the vehicles that use hydrogen fuel have to be very safe for it to operate on the road. If it's not safe, it will cause a disaster. It is interesting to know that if you've seen our video about Hindenburg, that flying Titanic ship was a hydrogen machine, and just because of this gas that lifted up on the air, it exploded and caused a huge fire. If you fill up a balloon with hydrogen, it will lift off like it's weightless. But in party balloons, they do not put hydrogen in the balloons. They use helium for those. Helium seems weightless because it's lighter than air, but it's not as dangerous as hydrogen. The Nazis wanted to put helium in the Hindenburg, but they realized hydrogen is cheaper and just as good. Another interesting fact is that hydrogen is also the lightest element in the universe. I wanted to say lightest one in the periodic table, but that doesn't sound as cool. If you turn hydrogen gas into liquid hydrogen, that liquid is the lightest liquid in the universe. It's so light that you cannot believe that it's liquid. 1 liter of water is 1 kilogram, but 1 liter of liquid hydrogen weighs 70 grams. And just like liquid nitrogen, it's an extremely cold liquid. The temperature of liquid nitrogen is about minus 253 degrees centigrade. Another interesting fact about the hydrogen element is that its atom does not have neutrons, and it's the only atom that is like that. There is a reason they call it the simplest element in the universe. Just 1 electron and 1 proton. Another plug I have to do is that if you've seen our video about CERN, you'll know that in this facility, they're trying to create antimatter. And what's interesting is that the only antimatter they can produce is anti-hydrogen, which is basically the antimatter of hydrogen atoms. The reason they do it because it's the simplest atom in the world and it's the easiest. Some believe that hydrogen is the first element after the Big Bang, but a lot of scientists say 3 elements showed up. That's hydrogen, helium, and lithium, and you can't say which one was first. In our video about elements, we have to tell you the name and its meaning behind it. In the year 1766, Henry Cavendish discovered hydrogen as an atom, and just like other Europeans, when they found an element, they gave it a Greek name. In Greek, hydro means water, and gen means forming, because he realized that hydrogen helps form water. In the beginning of the video we said, 70% of all stars are actually hydrogen, but we didn't mention that in the solar system, there is another body that has plenty more hydrogen compared to its weight, Jupiter. This gas giant is more than 90% hydrogen. Saturn is more than 75% hydrogen. Uranus is 82% hydrogen, and Neptune is 83% hydrogen. So these are the reasons they call it the most abundant element in the universe. Right here on Earth, hydrogen is not a rare element. More than 70% of our surface is covered by water, waters that have a lot of hydrogen in them. It is true that hydrogen is very simple and you can find it anywhere, but the things you can do with this element could be one of the most complicated things in the universe. Things like a hydrogen bomb, which are very complicated, but the main power is this element. The most important one is our sun. Most of this thing is made up of hydrogen, and it's the reason that we are alive today.